Welcome to the CDG BizCast. I'm your host, Christian Gonzalez, founder of Creativity Design Group, Houston's homegrown digital marketing powerhouse where strategy meets imagination. Today, we're diving into the world of visual storytelling with someone who doesn't just snap pictures, she captures legacies. Her lens is a time machine, preserving life's most cherished moments with heart, artistry, and precision. Whether it's a wedding, a milestone, or a fleeting smile, she makes sure those memories live on long after the moment has passed. Joining me now is the incredibly talented Ashley Marie, the creative force behind Memories by Ashley Marie Photography, based in Katy, Texas. Let's find out more about how she turns everyday memories into timeless keepsakes. Welcome, Ashley. It's a pleasure to have you on BizCast. It's also your first time on BizCast, I might add.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me, Christian. It's such an honor to be here with you today.
Yes, and thank you for joining us. I'm thrilled to learn more about your entrepreneurial adventure and how you got started. So first, please share with our listeners your story. How did you get interested in photography? Tell us about Memories by Ashley Marie Photography and what you specialize in, as well as what makes your style unique.
So my photography journey goes all the way back to elementary school when I got my first compact camera and I took pictures of literally everything. The lamp, the couch, the pillows, the rooms, whatever was in the grass, all of it. And as far as specializing, I haven't actually picked one niche to set myself in. I like to cover all sides of photography, whether that is a wedding, an event, a band concert, your newborn, a couple session, or even architecture, nature. I like to touch on all of that, which I think also makes my style unique because I don't just set on to one editing style or tone. I can adapt to the client's preference or to the emotion set in forth of the session or individual images themselves.
Right. So basically, regardless of what the subject matter is or what the purpose of the photo is, you can just jump right in and start taking those photos. It doesn't matter what it is, you're ready to just get started. Right now, we're at Common Desk by the Galleria. If I were to ask you to go downstairs and take some photos of the water fountains in front of the building, you would be able to just jump right in, no questions asked, and you would just be able to set up like clockwork.
Absolutely. The art and the base of photography stays the same. So when you can just kind of adjust your mindset and your eye, your creative eye to the subject at hand, whether that's a physical person or the waterfall, you can just adjust to that. And so, yes, I think that it makes it really dynamic to be able to jump from one type of session to another and still capture the same memory or emotion or overall goal of that image.
The fact that you don't specifically cater to one specific niche really gives you that unique selling point because a lot of other photographers around the Houston area only focus on certain things. So this allows you to be different than everybody else. And that's very important in business. You have to be able to separate yourself from your competition. And I think that's a very good way to do it. That way, maybe you have one client who is doing a wedding. They may want you to come back maybe several months later to take a photo of newborns that might follow the wedding shortly after, something like that. And then bingo, you're able to just jump right in and you've already built that relationship with that client previously. They've seen your work, they love it, they're ready to hire you again.
Yes, absolutely. This is one of the biggest things for me is the rapport and the relationship building. And I don't think there's anything wrong with just picking a niche and following through with that. You certainly get a selected clientele. For instance, in a newborn industry, eventually one family stops having newborns and they kind of fall off of your list of clientele. And so I really like to keep the relationship building when I can hit a wedding or a family session and then grandparents, maybe down the road remember and they're like, oh, hey, there's this wedding or that we want the whole family reunion to come together. And because I haven't just set myself up to one type of session, I can still come back to these relationships from even way back when I first started that come back and still call me to come take a session for them for a new moment or milestone. It's really a heartwarming feeling to get to continuously work with people by keeping such an open range of photography skills.
Right. And business is all about building relationships. Here at CDG, I tell people all the time, we build websites. We make all sorts of different graphic designs for brochures and logos and things like that. But we're not just about building websites and logos and brochures and things like that. We're about building relationships. The way you describe the relationship building and how it relates to your business is basically the same thing. And the number one biggest way to get business is word of mouth. I can't stress enough the importance to everybody out there in the business world, especially those just starting up for the first time. Building relationships is key to your success and staying in business. And that's why you've been in business 10 years now.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note, relationships go so much further than just your clients. As you and I today. Networking and business relationships and that word of mouth isn't just from client to client, but sometimes business to business or business to client, or just, hey, I know somebody on top of mind that I can refer you to. And some of those make the best connections that you could have never expected if you just continue to put forth the efforts in building the relationships on every aspect of a business.
That's right. And, me being a big believer in God, I believe that He knows how to put the right people in our lives at the right time.
Absolutely. Everything happens for a reason.
That's
I
right.
believe that 100%.
Now, you've kind of touched on this earlier, but how did your passion for photography lead to your entrepreneurial journey? So you told me that you have been interested in photography ever since you were in elementary school. But before you started your own business, did you work for any photography studios? Did you jump right into starting your own business? How did that go between when you first discovered you love taking photos? How did it lead up to you starting your own business? What happened in between?
Sure. As I made it through high school and I took photography classes, I was when I decided that I was going to do this for a living one way or another. I went to college for it. I did a dual major in business management with a photography minor. I did not follow through with that, which is okay. In the end, for me and my industry, the portfolio was what mattered rather than the degree. But once I left college, I did work for a studio in the mall. Back then it was called Studio 1-to-1. Completely different from my baseline of photography nowadays. I focus more on natural lighting than I do studio lighting, although I could do both. And so that was the biggest step, I think, that led me into my photography journey. And through that nature, just kept doing it on the side as I managed whatever jobs I've been managing along the way.
And that's the way to do it. I like how you were able to work at a studio in the mall before you jumped in. That way you could see more about how the business side of things work. And a lot of business owners, the reason why they fail is because they don't learn the business aspect of things. I talk about this in other episodes. You can be great at what you do, but if you don't know the business side of things, you're not going to succeed. See, I worked in an office before I started CDG, and I was an office manager for a small company. I got to learn how to do filing, handle customers, answer phone calls, simple office tasks that many business owners like you and I educated ourselves to do.
Yes, absolutely. All the aspects of the business side, and not just necessarily finances, but like you said, communication, learning how to listen to your clients sometimes can make a key difference. But just the nature of putting your processes together, time management, all of those little pieces that really make a difference in managing your own business and being successful the entire way through. Very key points. I definitely think that having a background on the studio side and also sales, I don't consider myself to be a salesperson. I don't like to sell things, but when you believe in something and you're passionate about it, it doesn't really feel like selling. It's just expressing and sharing the same emotion and desire to, in my case, hang up your art on the walls.
And that's a good way to sell your photos. And I saw how you do it on your website. You actually have photos of your past work in a example setting, like a living room, and that looks really professional. The fact that you have it on your website is a good way to get the public to get some interest, because now they're not only seeing your work just as a still photo in the website, they're actually seeing it in action on a real setting. And once they see that, they're going to think, oh, I think I'm going to go ahead and hire her. It's like with restaurants. They put photos of their food to get people interested in wanting to eat there. It's
so good. We gotta go there. The same idea on why I added that piece to the site was to get viewers to see what their images would look like on their own wall. And so that was the idea behind that of remembering that it's so easy to go get your photo shoot done for whatever the holiday or occasion might be, and then we save those digital photos and we post them and we get reminders of them every year, but really trying to encourage them to put something on the wall, even if it's one photo, one canvas, one metal art, an album on your table. Everybody displays their photos and their artwork in such a different manner, but there are so many options to do it in, whether they're accordion albums or lay flat albums, or we're hanging them up on the walls, or we're giving them out as gifts to our grandparents and loved ones. It really makes a big difference when we don't just save them on our desktop in a folder and as digital files and then forget about them until a year or two or several years down the road.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Just having them stored digitally on the computer really doesn't bring them to life. If you were to come to my house and see my office in my house, my walls in my office, wall-to-wall photos are some of my best memories from over the years. I actually hang mine up.
Yes, and I have been guilty as a photographer of not taking as many photos of my own kids, because in those moments I'm in the moment rather than capturing the moment. And I have been guilty in the past of not hanging my own photos up, but it is something that I have have stressed heavily more recently in the past couple of years is to pull out the photos that I have taken and put them in the collage frames on my walls and rotate them out every couple of years as my children get bigger, and keeping the older ones that I really cherish so close, but the new ones that come in as they grow too that are also just as cherished.
That's right. And you don't have to feel bad about that. You have a busy life. I have a busy life. Sometimes I overlook things like that myself too. There's nothing to feel bad about.
We're all guilty of it. We're all guilty of it, but sometimes, especially the photographer in me, I'm like, I could do better in my own house. But we live, we learn, and we grow.
For me, it's with social media stuff. CDG's on all social media. I'm so focused on my own client stuff. Sometimes I don't even post on the CDG social media. It's basically the same thing. I'm more focused on getting my client stuff done versus CDG's own marketing.
Yes, social media is a growing point for me as well. That is one of my biggest things I'm working on right now in pulling the business together. Because you're right, we live busy lives and we run with our clients and we have a million other things going on. And then we're left with, hey, market yourself. Don't forget to do that. So yes, I'm sure there's many of us on the same exact page that we're on today.
Oh yeah, it's the life of a business owner.
Absolutely, you couldn't have said it any better.
That's right. I always tell people all the time that the life of a business owner, regardless of what industry you're in, is much different than the life of somebody who works a typical 9-to-5 job. And I encourage people to follow their dreams. I've run into people who have told me, who had great potential to be business owners, but they have told me directly that they don't think they can do it, that the idea intimidates them. They tell me these things. I don't see that in them. I see that these folks who have told me these statements have the potential to truly follow their dreams, break those chains of having to work for a boss at a 9-to-5 and actually make a difference in the world. A lot of us start businesses to make differences in the world. When we don't like how our jobs treated us, maybe we don't like some of the practices they've been engaged in, we want to start our own businesses and treat clients the way they deserve to be treated.
Yes, that's 100% true. I think that's how most of us, we don't want to be underneath someone. We want to go and do it ourselves and, kind of set our own ways up and build this empire, for lack of better words, that we built, that we get to put together. And I think for many people that think it's mindset, it's a mindset that we know that they're driven because we've seen them and we've seen how they work. And we know that if they could just put their mindset in the right place, that they could really accomplish anything that they really wanted to. And it's getting out of that mindset that I think is some of our biggest challenges, not just in life personally, but in life as a business, and that time management and making sure that if you're working from home, that you aren't getting distracted by all the chores that need to be done or that TV show you really wanted to watch instead. I often find myself at a place like Common Desk here in the Galleria of some nature or a coffee shop so that I can, knock out some hours of work and be in a different environment, a different setting. I mean, it makes a huge difference.
For me, it's at home after everybody else has gone to sleep and all the TVs are turned off, because my office adjoins the living room.
Okay.
And I live with at least 4 other people. I'm a night owl. So as soon as all the TVs are off, everybody else has gone to bed, I'm in my office working. During the day too, actually.
That must be a creative thing, because I am also a night owl and some of my best work comes out after I put the kids to bed. Sometimes the TV's on, sometimes it's music, whichever it is that's keeping my background, noise afloat for the night. But that's when we knock out the next couple of hours of work. And that's that grinding that we do to make this happen.
Exactly. We really want to put a focus on what we're working on. We are solopreneurs, and we want to make sure that we bring out the best in our work. It's not just about giving a 5-star experience. You want to go beyond that. If there was more than 5 stars, that's what we aim for. And every client that you and I have ever worked with, they leave satisfied and knowing that they got more than their money's worth. That's what we want to see. And that all comes from all the blood, sweat, and tears we put into our work. So staying up late at night, fighting traffic to go visit clients, things along those nature. As a business owner myself, I find myself on the road quite a bit.
Yes, I feel like especially the past few weeks, more so than usual, I have been on the road and setting up more meetings, which is really only a sign of growth. So I couldn't be any more grateful for it. And the things that we do for our clients, but we wouldn't have it any other way.
That's right. I would rather go through waiting in endless traffic, driving all the way across town, because I actually enjoy that, by the way, than go to a 9-to-5 with an over-demanding boss that micromanages you and nitpicks. And I have a whole episode coming about that later, about about toxic bosses and some of my bad experiences, but the life of a solopreneur, of an entrepreneur, is the best. It feels so liberating. No matter how much stress you go through, no matter how much time is taken up, no matter how far you have to go, it's worth it. It's so much better than dealing with the nightmare of working for somebody else. This may seem a little bit harsh what I'm about to say, but when you work for somebody, they own you until they fire you or you quit. So as an entrepreneur, we get to actually take care of family related things in between. Like if we don't have any appointments booked on a certain day, we can go and take care of family related things or personal things, and it doesn't affect our job.
Right. And that makes a big difference for some of us when we can flex our schedules to accommodate appointments and kids' needs. I volunteer. I actually do the yearbook for my kids' school. So I do the photography and I design the entire yearbook. So that's a complete volunteer basis. And I love every bit of it, but those are the pieces and what we do and what fills our soul. And I'll have to be on the lookout for your future episode on toxic bosses. I think we've all had our fair share. I think some of us with that entrepreneurial mindset, that brain that I think really kind of have had since we were younger, we get in a situation like that, and that's when we get frustrated, is because we know that we can go and do it ourselves and feel happier and feel more accomplished and feel our hearts are full.
That's
in a
right.
whole new way and a better way than we could have ever managed, trying to stay afloat in that job that we were just trying to manage to get by.
Right. And unfortunately, too many people are stuck in that position. Now, one thing to me, and I could be completely wrong about this, one sign that somebody is born to be an entrepreneur is when they were kids, what did you like to do? Did you like to pretend like that you were playing store, checking out groceries? Did you like to pretend like you had a restaurant? See, these were little things that I liked to do when I was a kid. With my younger brother, I would pretend like that I was the cook and he was the customer, and then he would give me the money and paying and things like that. So as a kid, I didn't think I would ever be a business owner. It wasn't on my mind.
Right. But in your actions and the things that you did, that mindset was really there underneath. You just didn't know what you wanted to do when you grew up back then. And many of us change it from when we were 6 or 7 years old to when we're 11 and 12, and even when we're 18 and 20. Some of us go through several changes in what we decide we actually want to do in our careers and what we want to give back to the community or to our surroundings, in any industry that you might be in.
Right. And regardless of what industry you're in, the big question to think about is, how does your business's activities contribute to the overall growth of the community and its economy? Is it providing services the way they should be provided? Are you giving the clients the experience they deserve? Are you being unique to the point to where you're actually outgrowing your competitor down the street? Those are long-term questions. Right. But starting out, you just want to think about who is your target customer. You got to break that myth that it's not everybody. And how am I going to find these customers and market out to them? That's basically the first few questions you should think about when starting any type of business.
Yes, definitely the starting points for sure.
Now, I want to talk more about your photography process. I like how you stress the importance of making memories last a lifetime on your website. So this means more than just taking pictures. This means taking photos that tell a story and are full of meaning, as I mentioned earlier. So what do you do to ensure that the memories you capture go beyond just taking snapshots? Like, it's not just simply pointing a camera and taking a photo. Every single snapshot actually has meaning. Like, how do you do that? What's your process in terms of mindset and technique?
Sure. So we've touched on a couple of these things. So I'll go back and pull them into this here. But it really starts with that rapport and that relationship in the middle of your session when you're trying to get those raw emotions. You're trying to pull out a funny joke or a sweet sentiment or anything. Well, are you looking for laughs? Are you looking for that sweet smile, as they're turned towards their partner? It starts there. It starts in the relationship from your consultation, and then even more so during your session. And after that, it's all the photos. It's making sure that you did get your digitals downloaded, that you didn't have any issues with that. But even more so, can I help put prints on your wall? Can we get these photos into an album for you? Are we celebrating a big milestone or a holiday or a loved one? All of those things will make a difference in how we can really ensure that those memories go beyond just that snapshot. But my favorite part of any photo, regardless of what it is that it can be shared and passed down to generations of family to be cherished and loved for so many years to come. And so that's where my heart really lies in, is the digitals that I know that can be shared, but the prints that I know can be displayed.
Right. Anybody can pick up a camera and take a photo. It's how the photo is captured, the meaning behind it, and the overall composition is what matters. And those are the things that you take into account when you take a photo, in addition to imagination and creativity, of course.
Of course.
So now I want to learn more about how you handle tough situations. Please explain to me a time where you felt business wasn't exactly where you wanted it to be, and how did you overcome that trial? So this could be maybe a slow period in business or an unhappy client, something along those lines.
Yeah, we definitely all go through probably various ups and downs of feeling like business isn't exactly where we want it to be. I would say I've had pieces of this all 10 years throughout my business. Although I have had it open for so long, it's mostly been a kind of side word of mouth as I maintained full-time jobs and I had young kids that I had to manage and didn't quite have as much time. Now that my kids have gotten quite a bit older and I have adjusted my skill set and I have gotten older and knowledge as well, it's just one of those paths that you just keep grinding, you just keep pushing. When you have those slow times and you're like, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore, and then you pick right back up and you figure out how to reset and start back at it again. And really, it's not giving up, it's pushing through and making sure that even in those tough times, whether it's I don't have enough time to post on social media and market, or I don't have enough time to update my website, or I need to get more clients in, that's more than just word of mouth. All of those, I have been on an up and down hill throughout 10 years. I think now I'm at a point where I'm still pushing my business to the fullest growth that I would love to see, but I have made more connections and relationships over the past couple of months than I have been able to do in the past for various reasons, whether that be other jobs or kids or whatever may be the case. And so I really feel now that I'm in my biggest growth point of ever, being able to manage those relationships at my best and carry on that through my business and its growth along the way.
Just like Apollo Creed told Rocky Balboa, Eye of the Tiger.
Eye of the Tiger. I love that song.
See, going through college, I remember watching the Rocky movies and I found them to be very inspiring. And to this day, I still do, because the overall message is not to give up, no matter how tough things were. How many times did Rocky get knocked out in the ring? Too many to count. But he still came out victorious every time.
Because he got right back up, no matter how hard it was, how exhausted he may feel, even when you're ready to just throw in the towel and just, walk off the mat. But we don't walk off the mat when we're in entrepreneurship. We figure out how to keep going and we figure out how to grow. That's where we go.
That's exactly right. We don't just give up. Too many business owners give up because they don't really know what to do. And again, that falls back onto the fact that they're not too knowledgeable about how the business side of things work. They've monetized their talent, but they don't know the business aspects of monetizing their talent, you could say.
Yeah.
If you have a restaurant, maybe you're really good at baking cakes. You may make some of the best cakes in the world, but if you don't know the business side of running a bakery, such as working with vendors, handling finances, marketing, things like that, you're not going to succeed. I've given many examples and I've stressed this point in so many other episodes, but it's important for business owners to really understand how that works and how they need to really understand that if they want to go into business for themselves, they better learn all these other things too, even if it means going back to school to learn about business management.
Yeah, and also, leaning on your connections. If you're looking to start your own business, or you have that goal and dream in mind and you're terrified of what's to come or what you think you can't accomplish, or the business side that may be your biggest fear of all, there's so many connections and networking groups to jump in on and meet people and to kind of learn the ways. So don't feel so daunted by having to do it all yourself, because there's so many resources and willingly helpful people out there in the world that want to share their knowledge and their skill set with people of like minds.
That's right. In general, I believe that all business owners and professionals should network, because in the end, you're creating a community of people who are looking out for each other. And what do communities end up evolving into? Family. You have this ecosystem of people. One needs their service or they need their support here, and then maybe they need some business here, so you're sending them referrals. When you know people, it helps you grow faster. I've heard many people say it's not about what you know, but who you know. And that's especially true if you're looking for a job. But if you're a business owner and you want to grow, that's especially important as well. Don't just sit back after building your website and getting listed on Google and Apple Maps thinking people are going to come knocking on your door. They will, but you've got to grow first.
Yes, and I love that phrase. It's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And I say I love that, but actually growing up, I had a hard time with that. I had a hard time leaning on people that I knew, because growing up, I struggled knowing how to ask for help. I was raised to be so independent that asking other people for help was it didn't make me a bad person, or it didn't make me like I didn't know what I was doing. I just didn't know how to ask for help to put somebody else out of the way to do that. And as I have grown in age and in knowledge, I have learned that there really are so many people out there that do want to help. My experiences in the past of trying to reach out to people thinking that I could, just share some knowledge or get some insights into things, and, them not really wanting to share. And that kind of sat with me. But I've met so many wonderful people since, my high school years that it's really changed my outlook on the fact that people are there to help. And one of the phrases I say with my kids is that it takes a village. And I don't think that just stands with raising children. I think it stands with growing a business. Is it takes a village to grow and succeed at a business. And that village are your referral partners and your business connections, your word of mouth clients, and those clients that keep coming back. That is your village, and that village will carry you through.
That's right. And starting a business in a way is like having a child, because you have to nurture it, you have to financially support it, and you have to know what all of its needs are. Whenever something goes wrong, you have to know how to fix those problems. If your child is sick, you take your child to the doctor. So in terms of business, this is where you step back and think, what do I need to do to heal this ailment my business is facing right now, why it's struggling at the moment? I actually still remember, I never told you this, but back in 2021, I almost went out of business because of COVID.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So many people face that. It was such a scary time for many of us.
I was this close. I thought I was going to be turning off the lights for good for the last time, because it's the only year in CDG's short history where cash outflow exceeded cash inflow. It was very scary. I didn't know what was going to happen. And here we are now. We're still in business. 2021 was 4 years ago. We're still in business. We've been doing better than ever. And how did you do during COVID, by the way? I know that it must have been a very hard time to get clients.
It was. COVID was a hard year. In complete honesty, it was not a very active year for me in photography, mostly because my youngest was barely a year old during COVID. So that was one of my most active times of being more of a mom than being a photographer. Really, from what I recall, not many people were taking photos during that year. Everybody was still so distanced that I think that's why now we're seeing such an uptick in photography, is people missed out on so much for that year, and now people aren't waiting that time anymore.
Yeah, that's correct. It was a different world back then. Thankfully, it was only for a very short time. But during that short time, it was tough because, I lost my two biggest paying clients at the very end of 2020. And in your case, nobody's having weddings, nobody's having parties. Everybody's doing everything virtual. So if they wanted to actually get together, they were doing it over Zoom. Right. And I know it's not really very much fun, but what else can you do in order to stay safe?
Yeah, there wasn't much we could do, but I'm glad you're still standing. I'm glad we're here, sitting here today to be able to do this.
Right.
So we made it out alive, and that is what matters.
Because a lot of businesses did not make it out of that alive. Many of them had to shut down and close because they just didn't have the support to keep going.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is the case. But we're able to push through these hardships in our careers and our businesses, not just things like, global pandemics, but other life-changing events that happen. Sometimes business growth can put us kind of in a dip for a minute before it really kind of upticks again. And it's just a part of the ride.
Yes, that's right. Because business growth doesn't come without its struggles too. Sometimes it might interfere with other things that we're working on. And then that's when we need to step back and think, what can we do to make this easier to where we are getting the job done, but it's not clashing or conflicting with other business related activities we're doing. Like maybe we don't want one client's projects to bump heads with another one due to time constraints. Maybe it has to do with thinking about time management or thinking about the client's needs.
We have an ever-evolving list of to-dos as entrepreneurs. I always joke that we take 2 or 3 things off our list and add 5 or 6 back on every time. It never fails. It's the life of us as entrepreneurs, managing the processes, the clients, the back end, the front end, and everything in between. It's an ever-evolving list.
I couldn't say that any better. That's correct. And we mentioned that quite a few times throughout the episode. It is important to make sure that you have good time management, which you and I both do. But for everybody out there who's listening, they need to understand that as well. When I became an entrepreneur, no matter how busy I got, not once did I feel upset or miserable. But when I was working for somebody at a dead-end job, at a dead-end office job, I wasn't happy. Every day was misery and I didn't want to be there. It was a world of a difference where I had even a bigger workload as a business owner versus having a bigger workload working at a company for bosses that I didn't like.
The way it sits on us is what hits hits so differently is because we can take our heavy workload and at the end of the day, we can still be so exhausted. Probably I fall asleep with my computer in my lap more times than I can count, but it's not the feeling of, ugh, when we're doing that. It's just what we do. In those moments, it's not, oh, I fell asleep on the couch again with my laptop and I'm so mad about it. It's, oh man, clearly I need some sleep. Let's put this away for the night and we'll come back at fresh eyes in the morning. That's just how it goes.
That's the best way to do it, especially if you're working on a project that's challenging. If you're working on it late at night, it's already burned you out. Just put it away, look at it again in the morning, and then you'll have a fresh mindset to tackle it better. And I notice I've solved some of my biggest problems, like when I'm tweaking website bugs or things like that. That's the easiest way I've been able to overcome them. After exhausting myself trying to fix it, then the following day, I feel refreshed, and then I eventually get it done.
That definitely helps with the right mind frame to use those tasks that we really need to use our brain for. I find most of my creativity to spark at night. I do on the side a lot of graphic design as well. I think it's just a part of the nature in the creativity world. And so in that, whether I'm editing or designing, some of my best stuff comes out at night.
Same here. It's because we're not distracted at night. We're really thinking. During the day, we have our focus on other things. But at night, when it's quiet, that's when I get my best ideas as well, too.
That's such a good way to look at it is because during the day, I can't even tell you how many things go through my mind on a regular basis from, the house chores and the kids' needs and my own personal needs and then among the business needs. And I typically also have some other side gig or job. I typically run multiple at a time. So I always have some load here or another. And you're right. So during the day, our minds are covered in all of these things to accomplish. So when at night, when we finally sat down and are still and can just look at our computer, it all just comes rushing out.
Right. That's how it works for the most part. When we're completely in a zone where it's quiet, there's no distractions, people aren't asking you questions, the phone's not ringing, the TV's not on, that's when we both get our best ideas. In fact, CDG BizCast was an idea that I got late at night. I remember I was just thinking, hey, what if I started a podcast that talked about all sorts of business topics and I had all sorts of different people as my guest on it? And then that was 5 years ago. Here we are now.
It looks like it is just blooming for you.
It is. I have a lot of different guests on and we talk about a lot of different topics.
I love the variety of topics that you cover.
Thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying the show. And I'm also glad to know that you've been in business for 10 years because most business owners don't even make it to 5. And see, the fact that you never gave up, you kept going, and you just continue to let that passion for photography and customer service burn and the flame never went out, that's why you're still in business to this day. Other business owners drop their passion when they don't see things going their way or when they see business slowing or they just, again, they didn't learn the ropes of running a business. They just let their passion die and then their business ends up dying with it. See, that's why you and I are still in business to this very day. We don't give up. We really put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into every project, and in the end, the customer's happy. They're leaving 5-star reviews, which is causing your business to boom on Google Maps too.
All of those things make a difference. And in the world of working for other people, or that mindset of, like you said, dropping your passion when things aren't going your way or you don't see the outcomes that you wanted as quickly as they came through, that is the most important time to not give up. Is when you see that dip and you're like, I took the leap and I put everything I had into this and it's not working how I wanted, but it's been 6 months, maybe it's only been a year, which is really only such a short time when it comes to building a business. Sometimes it takes several years to really see that turn and growth for that. And the biggest key point is to just keep on pushing.
That's right. And I don't want to scare anybody, but I got to drop something very real right here. A startup business could take 5 or more years, probably around 5 to 7 years to truly get off the ground. So you're going to be working hard during the first startup phase. When your business is still in its infancy stage, it's going to mean going out and networking, making sure that you're building up your connections, relying on your existing connections. Like when I started CDG, I had a few people already lined up, ready to go because I did websites on the side back when I was still working full time. So that helped me give CDG a footing before I even started it. So, little things like that. And then, of course, you've got to focus on being unique. Now, my final question for you is related to this, and it's for all the aspiring entrepreneurs out there who are listening. They're listening to this right now, and they just need some words of advice. So regardless of industry, what advice or words do you have for them, for all those those who are thinking about it, they're aspiring, but they haven't done so yet?
Don't give up on your dreams. In this life, our dreams and our goals are what carry us through, kind of what we consider to whether we live the life that we wanted or not. And if your goal or dream is to have your own business, do it and push through it and grind through it. And it's going to be a lot of hard work, but in the end, it'll be worth it. One of my favorite quotes that I stumbled across, it was actually in Dave Ramsey's, one of his money makeover books. But the quote goes, if you live like no one else now, later you can live like no one else. And ultimately what that means is that if you can work really hard and you can put in all the extra hours and the blood and the sweat and the tears, and you grind so hard now that later you can live the life of less work, of financial freedom, of all of the things that you were aspiring to achieve in life. If you can push through every hard road and journey that you have to go through in order to achieve your successful business or your career path, it doesn't even have to be your own business. It can just be your goal and your dream. If you push through it and you live now in a way that you can grind and make it happen, later you will thank yourself for it because it'll be the life that you had only dreamed of having.
That's right. And on top of that, don't allow all of your fears to consume you, your fears of starting up. Fear is what keeps people from starting businesses. Because like I've said, I've met individuals who have the potential, but they just won't do it because they don't feel ready to step out of their comfort zone. Like they just believe that they cannot do it, even though I see really good potential in them being great entrepreneurs. They just need to see it in themselves. Think about what motivates you to break free from your previous life. How do you want to break free from your previous life and transition into the entrepreneurial world? So in my case, it was the fact that I didn't like where I was working. I didn't like my bosses, and I was just ready to make a difference. Further down the road, after I started the business, I was starting to notice that a lot of other web design companies were ripping people off. They were taking their money and running with it. They weren't getting things done. Maybe they were fulfilling the job, but they were doing it at a slow rate to where the client wasn't satisfied. And I formed CDG to fight all of that. And I believe that it was my God-given purpose for starting this business, to make a difference in the world.
Wonderful motivator to have for that. The motivation is a key point in driving through our success in our business.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say it once more, mindset. Mindset will make or break you. If you have the mindset that you can and you will achieve, you can do it. And if you keep a mindset of doubt and negativity and you keep those words in your vocabulary, it will prevent you. That is just a fact of nature, is that mindset really powers ourselves more than we think it does.
That's right. When you have the right mindset, it'll give you the drive to push to achieve your goals. But if you have a mindset that is negative and fearful, you're just going to continue to avoid fulfilling your dreams. Yes, we may have bad experiences. We may have doubts. But on top of that, people often worry about things that have not even happened yet. A lot of what ifs going on in their mind. Destroy the what ifs. The easiest way to think about it is picture yourself in a boxing ring. You're in one corner and all of your fears and doubts are in the other corner. Think of yourself ready to knock every single one of those fears and doubts out, like a major knockout. Or think of it this way. You're holding a sledgehammer in your hand and all of your fears, all of your doubts, all of the reasons that you have for not wanting to pursue your dreams, you're taking that sledgehammer and you're just bashing them and you're just breaking them up into little pieces. They're destroyed, they're smashed. Think of it like that. Once you have that energy and that motivation, you'll see a major 360 happen in your life. You'll be ready to take on the world like nothing. You won't be scared anymore because you've crushed all of your fears and doubts.
And then once you start accomplishing one little goal, one little task at a time, those rewarding feelings just keep feeling better and better and better.
Mm-hmm. In my case, and I'm sure this is your case too, when I'm sitting at my computer working on a project, like actively working, it feels good. It doesn't feel like work because that shows that business is growing. I have an active client and I'm getting the job done.
Yes, absolutely.
That's how it feels rewarding. When you love what you do, you don't think of it as work anymore, like you said earlier. I've heard someone once say, when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life because it doesn't feel like work.
Nope. And when it doesn't feel like work, then it feels like a win to me in my life.
Right? We're going to go ahead and conclude the episode now, but before we do you have anything else that you would like to share with us that we did not cover or discuss? Anything important, any important tips or important tidbits of information you'd like to share about yourself and your business? Anything to help our aspiring entrepreneurs and our seasoned business owners also grow?
Christian, we hit on so many wonderful pieces today. I can't say that I have anything additional to add, but I will just continue to stress the importance of of pushing through even when it's hard, even when you're questioning yourself and you're doubting yourself, because I wouldn't be where I'm at today if I didn't keep pushing through every hard ball that was thrown in my life, every wrong turn in the road or journey that, on a big hill that you had to climb up. But then when you get to slide down it, it makes a world of difference. Don't give up. Don't let the negative mindset overpower the goal and dream to achieve the life that you can achieve if you just put your mind to it.
That's right. Mindset in general is everything. Having the right mindset will get you to where you need to be. And also, for the aspiring entrepreneurs out there, I would like to conclude by recommending a book. So we reviewed this book in episode 1. It's Tillman Fertitta's Shut Up and Listen. And this book basically tells you everything you need to know about handling customers, operations, and so many other aspects of running a business. And it's not just for business owners. It's also for professionals in general. For those of you who do not know who Tillman Fertitta is, he is the owner of the Houston Rockets, and he's also the owner of the Landry's Restaurant Group, which consists of several different restaurant chains that many of us have heard of, but probably didn't know were owned by the same company. We're talking about its namesake chain. We're talking about Morton's The Steakhouse, Joe's Crab Shack, Rainforest Cafe, just to name a few.
Yeah, I actually have not read that book, so I'm going to add it to my list. But just by hearing the title, Shut Up and Listen, and knowing the base of what it is, it goes right back to listening to those clients and those customers that we have, is that sometimes listening is key. They're not really looking for answers to be resolved. They're looking for some empathy. They're looking for somebody to hear them. And that's the biggest key. When they feel heard, and then you can process through what their needs might be, that will make a world of difference. And so I can only imagine that that book covers a lot of that.
It really does. It shows how to be accommodating, how to provide stellar customer service, and of course, information on how to keep operations in check, especially with employees. He's got some pretty interesting stories in there that I'm not going to spoil, but once you get the book, you'll see what I mean. So that's my final word. And also remember, Eye of the Tiger. My other homework for our listeners, if you haven't seen any of the Rocky movies, I highly recommend going to watch at least the first 4.
Great movies with a great inspiration and motivation behind them.
Exactly. Well, thank you, Ashley, for coming on to our show today once again and sharing with us all of your wisdom, all of your motivational tips, and your story in general. I hope that all of our listeners found it very, very inspiring, and I hope that those who are getting ready to start a business, who have been considering it, they will go ahead and break out of that shell and go ahead and start living their dreams. I would also like to say this too as we close out. I've got one more powerful statement to give. Never pass up an opportunity when it seems great, because you may never get that opportunity again. Once you have the mindset, go for it. Strike while the iron's hot. If you miss that opportunity for growth, whatever it may be, you may never get it again. So make sure that once you have the mindset, the timing is right. Don't think any more about it. Go for it.
Yes, 100%. I couldn't have said it any better. And it was so wonderful to be here with you today. It was great to chat with you about the entrepreneurial journeys and how to encourage and inspire all community members to follow in the same path.
That's right.
It's truly a pleasure.
Thank you. And like I said, all of your insights and information that you've shared was extremely useful. And more importantly, it was motivating. That's why I'm saying all of our listeners, go out there and follow your dreams. Thank you for listening to the CDG BizCast. I hope y'all have a great day.